Republicans in Congress voted almost unanimously to block the military from allowing children of undocumented immigrants to enlist. Now, 20 Republicans did vote with all Democrats in opposition of the amendment from Representative Mo Brooks, a Republican of Alabama, that killed the immigration language. Brooks' amendment scraps a provision in the National Defense Authorization Act that would have established a sense of the House that the Pentagon should review allowing DACA recipients to enlist. So if this had gone through and the military had looked into it and had liked the policy, then this group, which supporters of the act call the Dreamers, we hear that term a lot, would have had the possibility of enlisting in the military, serving their country, showing their dedication to America in the same way that they will soon be allowed to have temporary work permits and things of that sort. Now, thanks to Mo Brooks, we will not have that. That has been shut down with this amendment. Mo Brooks says, there is no military recruitment and retention deficit that justifies supplanting Americans and lawful immigrants with illegal aliens. That does not comport with what I have heard. I have heard that they do have problems in getting the sheer numbers that they need to enlist and also getting those with the right qualifications to enlist. But he is less concerned about that, more concerned with demonizing outsiders.
I have a really difficult time understanding the disdain that people have for people who were smuggled into this country when they couldn't even walk.
Yes.
Right? So why are you so angry with them, especially when you are so much in fear of national security and how it's always in jeopardy? You fear, that we're not spending or focusing enough on defense. At the same time, you want to go against people who want to enlist in the military and defend the country that you're talking about all the time.
It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make any sense to me. It's just, and at the same time, these are the same members of Congress, these are the same politicians who are very much concerned about the Latino vote, right? And I'm not going to
They say they are.
They say they are, and they say that they're going to do things to change the way that they approach Latinos. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend like immigration is the only thing Latinos care about, but it certainly is one of the issues that they care about. And for some reason, this ridiculous legislation is the way that they deal with Latinos. Like, oh, we have young people that were smuggled into this country. They had no say as to whether or not they came to America, but now they're here. They want to join the military, and we're going to vote against them.
Yeah. It's so ridiculous that they say, these goddamn Latinos, not educated, they're lazy, they don't Americanize, they don't support the military. So if they want to join college, let's not let them go to our colleges. No. If they want to get a job, no, we can't let them get a job. If they want to enlist in the military, die for Americans, we can't let them do that. So they hate their status, supposedly, but they certainly don't want them to become what they would say are Americans. And that's for damn sure.
So we're a nation of immigrants with an irrational hatred of immigrants.
Which we have always had. It's Latinos now, but it has been Asians in the past. It was the Irish, Italians. Every group has had to go through this in varying levels of severity. It's just continuing the cycle today with Latinos.
And I feel as though, this is just a hunch, that members of Congress pass legislation like this or policy like this so it can play into their narrative of, well, these people come to this country and they don't do anything substantial. They're not productive members of society, which is why we should deport them. Well, part of the reason why they can't be productive members of society is because you pass legislation that makes it impossible for them to do what they need to do. Whether it's go to college, join the military, get a decent job, right? You're just passing legislation that plays into your narrative. It's beyond unfair.
Here's a question I'd like George Snuffleupagus to ask at one of the Republican debates, and it would be, if you were born in another country, would you try to get into the United States? Would you do anything you could to get into the United States? Or would you just go, I can't get in, I'll live here. I'll live in another country. Or would you just scratch and claw and try to do anything you could to get in the United States? Because that's what I would do. And if they go, no, I guess I'd be happy living someplace else.
I don't think they're going to say that.
Anybody would break any law to get into the United States. And they go, well, my parents came here, but they did it the right way, legally, because they fucking could. That's why they did it. If your parents couldn't get into the United States legally, they wouldn't go, hey, I'd rather stay here in Ireland and starve during the potato famine. Because I would be breaking the law, and that's against the, I don't know what that's against, but I would do anything I could.
It's also when they say that my family did it the right way, it's completely missing the fact that the laws allowing or barring immigration from different countries are not just universal and everybody has the same chance. They change over time, and they change dependent on what country or what continent you're coming from.
Yeah.
We make it very easy for certain groups to come. We make it very difficult for others, and we explicitly bar certain groups at different times from coming over. So it's ridiculous. It's like saying, I paid for college myself in the 40s. Why can't they pay for it today? You don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
One of my favorite stories that we've covered, and this was years ago, had to do with farmers in middle America that were about to get into a lot of trouble because they were employing undocumented immigrants. So Republicans passed legislation that would have severe fines and penalties for farmers that employed undocumented immigrants. And so as a result, a lot of these farmers are like, all right, I'm going to fire them. And of course, all these Americans, they really, really want jobs. So I'm going to have no problem employing people on my farm. The farmers couldn't find people to work on their farms.
Yeah.
Okay. So this whole notion of them stealing jobs from farmers, and no, a lot of these people come here and they're treated like shit because they're undocumented. They're taken advantage of by a lot of these companies that employ them. So to pretend as though they're working these jobs that Americans are like dying for is complete and utter bullshit. We need to create a pathway to citizenship that makes sense and stop passing policies like this that demonize and penalize people who had absolutely no say in where they ended up in their lives.
Yes.
So you're saying you don't think the problems, our economic problems in America, are caused by people with no money and no power? Because that's what people, when people get angry at immigrants or people on welfare or whoever, that what you're doing is just saying, oh, if it wasn't for these people with no money and no power, everything would be peachy keen in America.
Totally. By the way, I just thought of a follow-up question that you said that they should ask the Republicans. They said, you did everything by the law. So theoretically, if you were born in another country and your family decided to bring you over when you found out that you had been brought in illegally, would you go back?
Yes, that's the question.
Yeah.